Thank you so much for joining us today. Listen, we are just so excited. We wanted to take some time to just share with you a little bit about Women with Grit. What is the story behind it? How do we get started with it? You know, I've got partner in crime here, Lilliston.
Hey, what's going on?
And I'm Sherelle Lands, and we're just so excited about this concept called Women with Grit, where we interview just exceptional women within the community and around the world who are doing phenomenal things. So how do we get started with this concept, Lee?
Well, I think ultimately it was a reaction to COVID. We were literally working on a different concept that involved women and really helping women have the opportunities to progress in their careers, and we're really putting something together to do that. And we had all these people lined up to interview and to get information from, and COVID happened. So
that changed life for everyone.
It did, and so for us, we were talking one day, and so we were talking about what we're doing, and I said, I'm thinking about doing this podcast, and I'm thinking about doing this, and you said, okay, let's do it. And so Women with Grit came like
there it is. Big on execution, we make it happen.
Yes, so it's been exciting.
Yes, it has. We've had just phenomenal guests even over the last year, and looking forward to all that's coming ahead. So how can they reach us?
They can reach us on YouTube, Exceptional Women with Grit. You can subscribe to our page. You can check out our Facebook page, Women with Grit, or you can go to our website, womenwithgrit.com.
That's it.
And the best way to catch us is Tuesdays at 7 p.m. Central Time, when Sherelle and I are live with our guests. And literally, I think the most exciting thing for me is what we talked about. We wanted to have a program that brought in women from around the world. So that's our globe here. We literally interview people in Bogota, Colombia, over in London, and then all over the United States as well. So that's been exciting. That's one of the benefits of COVID. Everybody's used to this virtual world, and nobody feels like they have to fly in to be live in the studio.
That's right. So hopefully you will join us live or catch the replay, right?
The replays, that's right. We have a bunch of replays, and I mean, if I were you, I would binge listen. People binge watch on Netflix, binge listen and watch Women with Grit. There have been some phenomenal interviews and some phenomenal tips that will help anyone. We have men and women that watch.
That's right.
And I think the tips that you get, the things that you learn from these women that are our guests will help anyone advance their careers, advance their lives, and just really live a full life and a happy life. And I think that's exciting.
Yes, I will agree 100%. So if you're interested, definitely join us, follow us, engage with us, like us, share it, all of those things. And if you know a phenomenal woman or a woman with grit that you would recommend being on the show, be sure that you write us on any one of those forums, and a member of our team will get back to you.
Yes. So. And don't forget, if you have a product or a service, a company that you want to promote or a cause, give us a shout. We're happy to do that. There is a cost. But it's not much, not yet. So you better get in while it's cheap.
That's right. That's right. Well, thank you. And so far, we'll see you online.
Talk to you later. Peace.
Bye. Well, good evening, everyone. Guess what time of the week it is? It is time for Women with Grit, where we interview amazing women around the world who are doing phenomenal things in their communities as well as their cities. Guys, you are in for a tremendous treat this evening with our PR superstar guest, guys. I'm so excited to have Julie Lilliston this evening. And so you guys will have an opportunity to connect with Julie, get to know the story behind this phenomenal, when I tell you phenomenal and dynamic woman, I'm not shortchanging her bio. You guys have to hear everything and all of the amazing work that she has done around the world and throughout the different years that she has. And so what we want to ask you to do right now is go grab a friend, bring them in. You guys know how we like to do it. We love to engage with you to make sure that the content that we're providing, of course, is providing back to you, is providing value to you as well. So go grab a friend, tell them that Women with Grit is on. And yes, my co-partner, who's Lee Mollett, will be here any minute now to join us on the dais. But when I tell you, Look, the party will still continue to go on with Julie this evening. So grab a friend, tell them that we're on, and listen. Be sure to leave your city and state in the chat function so that we know who is joining in from around the world. Again, as we said in our introduction, that we have women that we acknowledge and recognize around the world. So welcome, welcome, welcome to Women with Grit. We are still very much celebrating Women's History Month. Listen, when we talk about just the amazing things that women are doing, I mean, tipping our hats and so on and so forth. And so we are closing out this month with a tremendous, tremendous bang with Julie. So let me tell you guys a little bit about Julie in case you didn't have a chance to read her bio. All right. And be sure that you check her out at julielilliston.com. I am going to make sure that you guys have her website here that you can check in with her as we go through this program as well. So let's see. All right, there it is. Make sure you check it out, okay? And make sure that you guys go and look at all the amazing work and clients that Julie has. We have none other than Julie Lilliston. She is the founder and president of Julie Lilliston Communications, a certified women's business enterprise, or WBE, by the Women's Business Enterprise National Council, or what we call WBENC. And as well, a woman-owned small business by the Small Business Administration. Julie Lilliston Communications is a public relations agency specializing in business-to-business communications and thought leadership located in the Nashville, Tennessee area. Julie herself is an award-winning professional with more than 20 years of experience helping businesses enhance their reputation, build their brand, and grow market share. And when I tell you, just amazing work in terms of the clientele that she has worked with. She has cultivated her experience at the Weber Shandwick and MSLGroup in Austin and Chicago as a vice president, and served clients including Archer Daniels Midland, Bayer Healthcare, Animal Health Division, and Mars Incorporated, one of my former stomping grounds. Her work on the GoDirect public education and engagement campaign for the U.S. Treasury and Federal Reserve Banks earned numerous awards, including a PRSA Silver, Anvil, and PRWeek award, which is a big deal if you are not in the communications field. She founded a company in 2014 and partners with clients including DevMar Products. So you guys, if you remember Sharon Reynolds, she was on the show before, as well as Apto Global, and that's Tracy as well. She is just amazing. And so she is a global media strategist and placed stories in the USA Today, American Dream TV, CBS News, MBE Magazine, PRWeek, Reader's Digest. I mean, you guys really have to check this out. Parade Essence, Enterprising Women, In the Know Radio Magazine Show, Her Story of Success podcast. Guys, you want Julie and her team in your corner and on your dais as well. Julie has been presented on brand building and PR at Mastermind Group's International Coach Federation, the Tennessee State University, and the Nashville Area Chamber of Commerce Business Radio. Julie, I want to make sure that I get all of these amazing awards that you have in here as well. She's a member of the Public Relations Society of America, serves on the National Corporate Communications Sector Committee. She is a recipient of the Hercules Award on behalf of the PRSA Nashville in 1997. She serves on the board for the National Association of Women Business Owners, the Nashville chapter as Corporate Partners Chair and past president. She served on the board of directors for Dismal House as the marketing chair and a member of the executive committee for 3 years. She served as a mentor of the Nashville Business Journal's Mentoring Monday and Vanderbilt University's Women in Business Mentorship Program. When I tell you guys are just in for an amazing treat. She's an active member of the Nashville Area Chamber of Commerce and a graduate of the 2020 Leadership Connect class. She was a 2020 award, a Athena Award nominee and recipient of the Nashville Business 2020 Women of Influence. And she is an active member in Brain Trust. So again, if you guys remember Sherry Deutschman, she was on the show here as well. Guys, listen, none other than the amazing, amazing Julie Lilliston. Hey, Julie.
Hello. Thank you so much, Sherelle. I'm so excited to be here. I'm a fan of the show. You've had clients on the show, colleagues on the show, and I'm just thrilled to be here. Thank you so much for the invitation.
Absolutely. It was only right to have you. I mean, such a rock star. I mean, your work speaks for itself. So thank you. And thank you for the commitment to cultivating your craft that also uplifts and exemplifies others. So thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you. Yeah, it's my pleasure. It's definitely my passion, working with women business owners and helping to lift up other women in business. And that's kind of what fuels me. And it's been such a tremendous surgence of that in the past few years. And through the pandemic, I think we've all kind of come together and worked even more closely.
That's right. That's right. And we definitely want to shine a light on you who is shining a light on others. So today we celebrate you, and especially I feel is so befitting, especially with it being Women's History Month, to shine a light just on the amazing things that you have done. But before we delve into all of that, we want to know more about Julie. So tell us your unique story of grit.
Oh boy, that's a great question. And I love this because like the tables are turned. I'm usually the one behind the scenes and asking the questions and getting my clients prepped. So to be able to tell my own story, this is unique for me and stepping out there, and that's all part of it too.
Awesome.
It's interesting. I feel like I was born into grit.
Yeah.
From the very beginning, grew up in a small town in Ohio. It's actually a village, about 1,000 people, one little stoplight, in the middle of cornfields and soybean fields. And just, from the get-go, it really was steeped in me, just the values of, hard work and the things that you hear about in terms of being able to set your path in the world. But it became very clear that, anything that I wanted to achieve or go for or do it, I would need to figure it out. And I would need to build my own kind of networks and support. And certainly my family supported me in anything that I wanted to do, and my friends and colleagues. But, first generation, going to college, getting that degree, that was a huge achievement. So there were a lot of steps along the way. And I think that, having some of that adversity, having some of those challenges just financially, growing up in the 70s and the 80s, kind of what that economy was like in a small community, being able to form those networks and kind of just go after it, set your path and go after what it is that you want. And had a lot of support through teachers immediately, like just kind of saw something in me that I had some promise, that I had some ability, and certainly reading and writing and getting a degree in English. That was my path. Opened up worlds to me that I would not have been exposed to otherwise. And having friends whose parents were involved in cultural things and exposing me to the world outside of my little town, and kind of got me excited about what else is out there, who else is out there, what other experiences can I have. So I've always had this kind of adventurous side. And wanting to explore and travel is certainly a part of that, that I've been able to do. So I think, being able to take on the challenge of, okay, I've got to figure out a path for myself, a way for myself. What is the future that I want to create? And setting forth and doing that. And, the private liberal arts school that I chose, and then having all the debt to pay off years later, some of those decisions that you make. But I don't regret a one. I'm glad that I did it. It was definitely the right decision for me. And there's a lot to think about as a young person getting started in your career. I really didn't have a path that was predestined for me in terms of, I know in 5 years I'm going to be at this stage in my career, and here's I kind of have what I call kind of a more organic approach to my career, where, being an English major is kind of a generic major, but if you can communicate and you can write well, I figured that would set me up for something. I didn't know what exactly, maybe being, writing the novel that I want to write at some point in my career, I'll do that. But it gave me a lot of skills, being able to form relationships with people, and that naturally fed into a career in PR. So, I think now kids and students, I think of my nieces and nephews, they really have a path. They're on a track. They're very focused and dedicated. So I guess I'm more from the school of, even though I have a degree, it is much more of an experiential, school of hard knocks kind of approach that I've had, where just being able to experiment and try things. And it took me a long time to realize that, mistakes and failure is learning, and to accept that. I have really high expectations for myself. And so being able to lean into that and really understand that and learn from it, and not look at, setbacks and failures as a negative, but it's learning. It's how you learn. It's how you grow. So.
It is very much so. I want to go back to something you said really earlier, just because it piqued my curiosity. So Ohio, small town.
Yes.
And I remember you saying, kind of driving through the cornfields. I remember, and as a part of one of my corporate stops, that there's a plant out there. And so I remember spending time in Ohio, specifically Leipzig. Are you familiar with Leipzig?
I'm not sure where that is. I was from Northeast Ohio. My family is still there. I'm not sure where that is, what part of the state.
And I couldn't tell you, to be honest with you, but I do remember when you mentioned that, just the aspect of driving through, and how gas stations and things were kind of far apart from one to another, and it was literally just aisles and aisles and aisles of cornfields. And I learned so much just about the corn industry, which has nothing to do here, but it triggered a thought. And I just thought that was really interesting, especially growing up for you in a small country, a small town, and then deciding for yourself you want to take on the adventure of seeing what else is out there and being able to stretch yourself. What was that like, just kind of stepping out? Were you ever afraid, or did you lean into it? What was that journey like for you?
Oh yeah, I mean, it's constantly learning and relearning and being exposed, but you have a lot of those moments of vulnerability. So anytime there was some kind of, I got really into academics and in my high school years, thinking, okay, I got to get serious about this. Like, I was just enjoying myself in elementary school and, middle school, and, not really focused on anything, and just, experiencing lots of things. I was like, okay, I need to really kind of focus a little bit more. And so my grades and, just applying myself. And so there were lots of opportunity. I got into sports and did track and cross country, and learned a lot about discipline and through those programs. And I was doing this with my friends, so it was also a social aspect to it. And you learn a lot, obviously, through sports and competing at different levels. And I've learned, there's always another level. Like, at this small school, I may be the only woman running the 2-mile run, and like set a record back in the day, and that would get beat, pretty quickly. And, but being able to compete like that, and then going to the next level, and then seeing what the competition is like, and like, okay, it opens your eyes to what's out there. So I think just being willing to take the chance. And I think also part of it is the not knowing that, I'm going to go to this cross country meet and the competition is going to be this stiff. Like, it makes you better. You step up. Like, I ran my best times when I was competing with the toughest schools that had the best programs and all the dollars. And we were like paying to play sports. We had to pay to like do any extracurricular, because to be able to have the funds to do it. And, that you're coming at it from a different mindset, and a different, you may be hungrier. So it made me better. It made me better. And
I can identify with you so I ran track as well.
Oh yeah.
But I didn't get into the distance running until I became an adult. So I did
Mm-hmm.
fast
Mm-hmm.
twitch when I was younger. And you're right, when you compete, especially as a young athlete, it breeds that discipline into you, so that you have this natural drive or propensity to push yourself even
Mm-hmm.
beyond the limits that you feel are possible or capable. And you
Mm-hmm.
typically have a coach that kind of sees the same thing in you, and they
Mm-hmm.
want to push you as well in terms of being able to get out of your comfort zone and to
Yeah.
stretch in ways that you otherwise wouldn't want to do
Mm-hmm.
so for yourself.
Yeah.
Can you think about an experience as you were on this track or on this path of establishing Julie Lilliston Communications, where you felt the need to have to push yourself through?
I had a lot of challenges. I'm a shorter person, so I was the distance runner. I was not the sprinter at all. So when we had to
Yeah.
do speed workouts, it was, a nightmare. I'm like, this is awful. I don't know if I can make it through this. So it became kind of a joke, and the coach would start hyping it up that we're going to do speed workouts, and I was like, well, I'll be way behind on
Yeah.
that. But I remember really pushing myself in track, and we actually ran on a cinder track at my school. Which, if
Okay.
you've ever run on, it's like running on the beach. It's like
Yeah.
your times are terrible.
It's a workout in and of itself.
It is. It is. So if you could do that, anytime we would go to another school where they had a nice track, I'm like, oh man, our times vastly improved. So just with that alone. But I remember, like, I would get shin splints really badly, and they're so painful you barely can walk. And I would stand in like buckets of ice before competing because I had to like numb my shins just to be able to withstand the beating that they would take. And so it got to the point where it's like, well, you can't do this to the detriment of yourself. You have to like take care of yourself and recognize, okay, maybe I'm pushing it a little too far. And I think that's definitely something that I have learned along the way. And just some other things with sports. I helped start it was the first girls cross country team at our school. And I think that has continued to go. And we had to meet with the school board and lobby for some funds to help support it. Myself and some girlfriends, and we wanted to do this, and they backed us. And then also a friend and I competed on the golf team. There was not a women's golf team. It was like, let's learn some sport that we can kind of continue on with and in life and learn. So we were part of the guys team, but just not being afraid, especially when I was younger. It's interesting. The older you get, it's like you have some of those setbacks career-wise, and be happy to talk about some of those and kind of what that does to you. And how you overcome that. But I think early on in life, especially through those high school years and into college, I just didn't. I felt fear, but I was just pushing through. I was just looking at, what's the worst that can happen, if I don't succeed at this.
And I love the fact that you said that, which is, you're right. When we are younger, we operate from a place of fearlessness. And we have this, superhero thought mentality that we're untouchable or that we're invincible. And I feel like that gives us the freedom to really dream and the freedom to lean into our dreams. And something does happen. I think that as we go through life and we experience disappointment, setbacks, and when things don't quite happen the way that we expect them to, that we tend to kind of pull back a little bit, or we tend to approach things with a little bit more caution. But why do you feel that that's happened, or has that ever occurred to you? And if so, how did you overcome it?
Oh, yeah. So kind of early on in my career, there's been so much. It's hard to pick just one or two. But a major setback that happened to me as I started my career at a global agency where I spent quite a number of years, 11 years, and experienced a layoff from there. And I felt like, oh, this is career ending. My career is over. Like, I could not see any light out of that. Like, it's just like the curtain just came down.
Yeah.
That's it. And it was also a very high pressure situation. We were in Chicago and we just bought our first home. So, it was exciting. And then the market crashed, and it was the spring of 2008, and our home was worth half of what we paid for it, like major things just hitting all at once. And then like, the next few years experiencing this layoff and just feeling like, what are we going to do? This is a disaster. This is financially a disaster. My career is over. This is, I really was at a loss, and had a wonderful group of colleagues and to kind of help me get through it. And they're like, you're going to land on your feet. And had the confidence in me where I think when those things happen, you really question everything. Like maybe I'm not good enough. Maybe I'm not, I was a VP level. And a lot of women, as I found now that I've started my own venture, when you get to a certain level, like a VP level or senior VP level, you don't really have as much of the support for getting to that next level. You kind of plateau. And depending, where you are in your life, it could be midlife. You could have, adult children you're taking care of, or elderly parents you're starting to take care of. There's just a lot of other demands that kind of corporate track may not be as flexible for.
Right.
And I just noticed them leaving the workforce. I mean, we've certainly seen that during COVID, women leaving corporate life, just like it's just not for them anymore. And I think there was definitely some of that, but where I really focused was like, is this my performance? Is this my ability? How am I going to get to the next level? What do I do now? So it was a definitely pull the rug out from under you kind of moment. And, being able to have a network of some colleagues. And I just started kind of getting out there and found another comparable role at another global agency in like 4 months during this downturn. I mean, I really just like attacked it. I was like, what are we going to do? And that role, like within the first few days, I was like, this just isn't going to be the right fit for me. And I was there almost 2 years. So it was a grind. It was, coming home at 2, 3 in the morning from work, working on a lot of new business. I'm like, what are we doing? Like this can't be our life. We're bound to this home that, is a 100-year-old bungalow. It's great, but it's going to need a lot of TLC and things. And, just having this crazy work schedule, it's like we're, just working and this commute and everything that goes along with it. Just really wasn't where we wanted to be. And that's when we started looking at Nashville again, because I'm actually a boomerang. We started out here in Nashville, my husband and I, and then went down to Austin, Texas, up to Chicago, and we came back. So we started looking at it again.
Nashville has a way of pulling us in, right? It's so warm, there's so much to do and just so many exciting opportunities as well that exist within, the space of Nashville. And a couple of things you said that were spot on. We talked in former shows about the popular loaners, right? Which are that C-suite executive, VPs, et cetera. Once you get to that specific place, it becomes difficult to find, that outlet or the voice that tends to, that you have a lot earlier in your career, because then you become the voice. But, even though you become the voice, we still need the aspect of the coaches or the support group or the networks that surround us, which is why, I think the mention to the WBENC or and those organizations are just so important to have, and to have other like-minded individuals that are supporting your success, who are championing you, and can really help to push us when we get into those moments where it's sticky, so to speak, and we begin to challenge ourselves or the norms, which is totally natural and normal, especially when we delve into the aspect of going from one plateau or one space and phase in life to the next. So, okay, Julie, would you believe that we're already almost halfway through the show? So
crazy.
So I want to give you a minute to take some water. But before I do, I want to give you a question that I want to ask you when we come back.
Okay.
We still want to delve into, like your support network and the people who have championed your success. But even before that, I'd love to hear the story of how did you transition into your business and doing it full time? Like, what was the catalyst for you, or what was the switch that happened, whether it be internal to you or if there was a specific pivot moment that says, hey, I want to do this and I'm going after it and I'm doing it. Okay. So
All right. Sounds great.
Okay, guys. So hopefully you are joining in with us on Women with Grit with Julie Lilliston. Listen, if you are just joining in, you guys will absolutely want to make sure that you catch the replay of this show with this dynamic superstar in PR, Miss Julie Lilliston. And when I tell you, you guys are in for an amazing treat, you are absolutely in for one. And so make sure that you hit like, share, join, grab a friend, tell them we are on. Go ahead and share the aspect of this story. We do this because we want to celebrate the amazing women who are doing just phenomenal things around the city, around the world, and shine a light, right? To shine a light on just the different places and spaces where women are really pushing it and knocking it out the ball. And remember, the aspect of grit, of course, is the ability to hunker in and to really make things happen, but not at the expense of self. And so we'll talk a little bit about the balance between that so that we don't take for granted the need for self-care while we're still actually pushing and while we're striving to be successful and doing those amazing things, right? So again, you guys feel free to chime in the chat. Let us know what city and state that you are joining in from. Remember, we love to give away gifts, so we love to hear from you. Okay. Again, you guys are on tonight with Julie Lilliston. If you are interested in sponsoring our show, you can absolutely do so. Be sure to reach out to our team at www.womenwithgrit.com. You can reach out to us on Facebook and send us a message. You can reach out to us on LinkedIn, on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, as well as YouTube. So any one of those forums will reach a member of our team. We want to hear from you. And then again, if you know of another amazing and inspiring woman who you want to celebrate as well, to have them share their amazing story, be sure to email us. Be sure to reach out to us directly on any one of those platforms or forums so that we can bring them in and interview them and see and be able to share their story as well. So whether that's for yourself or another amazing woman, we do this because we recognize that it takes, grit to be moms and executives that do all of these amazing things around the world. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and bring Julie back up so we can talk a little bit more about how you decided and how you got into your organization. So tell us a little bit more about your journey. What was that pivot moment like for you?
Yeah, that's a great question. And there definitely was a pivot moment. So I talked about, being in the global agency world and experiencing a layoff after we relocated to Nashville, and we made that choice really for quality of life. It was like, we got to get more balance. We didn't realize that we had a choice. We thought we were locked into this whole, mortgage and everything. It's like, well, the most powerful thing we had was figuring out how to create a choice. And make a decision. It's like, no one's, forcing us to do this. Like, we can go somewhere else. We can figure this out. We could take this step. And Nashville came up on the scene as a place to do that. And, after not being here for 25 years and coming back, I was like, I recognized the street names and nothing on it. Like, it completely changed in this city. Yeah. There were some old haunts we had to find and get reacquainted with that were still there, that are kind of disappearing. But we were like, wow, this city has really changed. There's a lot of opportunity here. And I had joined an agency. And from there, I went to a startup and got laid off again. So we had a mortgage in Chicago, rent in Nashville, looking for a house. We were able to finally unload the house up there, started looking here, going through these different job changes that just weren't the right fit. They just weren't working out for me. Yeah. And, Nashville's a very welcoming community. It's a wonderful network, and starting to get tapped into that. When we were making the move down here again, I literally called people up I had not spoken with in 20 years and said, hey, do you remember working together at the chamber or wherever I was? And they met with me, and I got a clue in of kind of what was going on in the city, who was who, what was what. And they just opened up their Rolodex and were like, here, meet with this person. Let me make an introduction here. Let me make a referral there. That is the Nashville way. That is what I try to do when I'm meeting with people. And so it just kind of blossomed from there. And felt like this is going to work out eventually. So I had a
Mhm.
couple more blips in the road, had experienced this layoff, was like, all right, I'm just going to go into social work. Yeah, that's probably what I should have done, 30 years ago. I'm just going to switch it up and do something else with my life. And I got
Yeah.
a call from a colleague who was like, hey, I'm starting a new venture and I need some PR help. Would you be interested? And I was like, all right, I'll do this. I'll do some consulting. And people had suggested through the years, why don't you consult and why don't
Mm.
you, become an entrepreneur? I'm like, why would I want to do that? There's no security. There's no,
Yeah.
loyalty. It's like, well, what happened to me in the corporate side? It's like, what's any different? You still have risk. So
Mhm.
I started with the consulting and I was like, oh, I really love this. If I could figure out how to make this actually work and become a business and grow this is where it's at for me, because I was working directly with the CEOs, working with small business owners, helping them figure out what their challenges were from a communications perspective, helping them figure out a plan and helping them grow. And it was so validating. It's like, I don't have to go through all these different levels. I don't have to go through all this red tape. I'm working directly with the owner and I'm helping them bring their vision to life. And it was so fulfilling and gratifying. And so that's kind of how I got into it. And so
Mhm.
I was the reluctant entrepreneur for sure. I was like, not going to be my path. That was not anything for me, and now I can't imagine going back to, there is
Mhm.
no going back to corporate, not at all.
I think that's so interesting as well. And hey, Lee.
Hello. Hey, how are you all? Hey, Julie.
Great.
Hey,
Hey, good to
Sherelle.
see you.
How are you?
Great, great. Hey, to all of our listeners, viewers. Good to see everyone. Lakita Stribling, good to see you.
Oh,
Yes.
yeah.
So it is just so, amazing to hear that. Now tell us, we want to delve into the people who have inspired you along the way. Who were some of those cheerleaders or, coaches that have
Mhm.
helped you in your journey?
Absolutely. I mean, I definitely have to start with my family. And I think my mom has been one of the biggest inspirations for me. She grew up, on a small farm in Indiana, one of 8 kids. So I think that's why it's like grit is in the DNA, because she figured out, how to survive and how to, have her life and push forward and persevere. And, I'm one of 4 kids. I'm actually the youngest. So, having those battles throughout the years, and you're growing up and you're the youngest, even though everyone's like, you're the baby, could be hard to be heard
Mhm.
sometimes with the bigger family. And so she's definitely one and still is an inspiration to me, just everything that she's gone through in her life and what I've learned from her. Career wise, I have an aunt who was the first person I saw that really had a professional career, got her PhD. She's in speech and hearing pathology, written books,
Awesome.
professor, just really going for it. And she really encouraged me. I just had that role model right there. And I could just see she had
Mhm.
a family, she had a career, and would just go after it and apply herself into a discipline and as an academic and still going kind of in a retirement career in consulting. So she definitely lit that fire under me, like, you can do this, you can figure this out, and
Yeah.
whatever it is that you want to do in life. Were huge inspirations. And some other ones, my grandparents, my paternal grandparents, I was really close to. My grandfather had an 8th grade education. He was an entrepreneur actually, and did some small motor repair shop that my father worked at for years and years and helped the community. And they actually repaired and worked on lots of motors for farm equipment and milk coolers and things like that, all in the community in Ohio. But you can imagine there are a lot, Sherelles, you were out there driving in the
Mhm.
fields, what's out there.
Yeah.
But that was, he knew everyone in the community. I think I learned from him the power of forming those relationships. So when he'd go around the county, everyone knew who he was. They knew his name. They had stories about him. He was funny. He was very relatable. Just a really, really great man, and was so influenced by him as well as my grandmother as well. So those were, I think, family for sure, were wonderful inspirations for me. And then along the way, those teachers and my Girl Scout troop leader, and just people that I was able to learn leadership and community involvement and having those connections to the community wherever you are, and how important that is and still is.
That's awesome. So Julie, what's the importance of having exposure to those folks? How does that how does that get into your DNA, and how do you draw on that to move forward?
Yeah, and I think, having exposure, that's a really good way to put it. When you're in a smaller community or an insular community, or feeling like, how am I going to get out there in the world? I think it really takes, and this is one of the tenets of, I'll have to throw out NABO and give it a nod. That was the first organization I joined here, and later became a chapter president in Nashville, because it was about getting exposed and seeing what is out there in terms of leadership and business owners, and having those role models and being able to get those relationships formed. So tapping into those types of networks was really critical for me as I'm getting my business going. It was a huge part of me starting to grow the business and meeting with community leaders, finding out where some of the needs are, where some of the gaps are, that I could fill a space and I could provide and contribute. And I think with NABO in particular, and WBENC as well, it's really you have to have a commitment to helping others, particularly women-owned business. You have to have that to be involved, I think, to be able to really get the benefit. It's a give and get kind of community. I feel Nashville's very much that way. It's not so much, what can I get from you, but what are you giving out there? What are you contributing? And for me, any organization that I'm a part of, that has to be a part of it. So being able to then, in hand, make those introductions, make those referrals for others, hire them, refer them. It's all just part of the community here, and I love it. I love being a part of it.
That's wonderful. And so I'm going to ask you an off the beat question. What do you do for fun?
Oh, I know, I'm so work committed. I do have fun, and one of the things that I love to do, I love to cook. And I kind of explain as I love to explore different cultures through food. So it's one of those things where, like, on any given New Year's Eve, I think nothing of like, okay, I'm going to make a French meal and figure this out. And, we may be eating at midnight, but it'll be phenomenal. and I love the creativity of it. Of course, the flavors and exploring, and I get lost in the kitchen. Hours can go by. Luckily my husband's good at the cleanup, and there's several stages of cleanup depending what I'm taking on. But I love that. And, of course, entertaining goes a part of that. So I've hosted a lot of Thanksgivings and Christmases with the families, and, love doing all of that. Travel for sure, which has mainly been around the US. I hope to explore more, some other areas, and getting overseas now that things are opening up. But I think you can learn so much through travel. And of course, food's a part of that. Music's a part of that. My husband plays music. So being able to go out and see him play and support that, and community is also something else that we do for fun.
Okay. And what's your go-to dish? And when's the next time your husband's performing, and where?
Oh gosh, my go-to. I don't know if I have a go-to dish. Well, I was making some homemade pizza recently, had a nephew come through town, and this was a recipe that my mom had created, and she makes it in a cast iron skillet. And I have her skillet, and it's in the oven. So it's like your own homemade deep dish. If you like that style pizza, I'll share a recipe. Happy to do so. That's always a good comfort food. And my husband's actually playing this weekend at two places. He has an instrumental band called the Lilliston Effect. And so they're playing at Van Gogh's on Saturday, which is over in East Nashville. And then on Sunday, they're starting a new season out at Arrington Vineyards. So they'll be out there several times throughout the summer, which is just wonderful. And it's been a blessing to have that through COVID, to be able to go outside, hear live music, relax a little bit. And so that has been a wonderful experience the past couple of years.
Okay, wonderful. We'll have to keep track of him.
Yeah.
I think. Yeah.
Very much so.
And the next time you hook up the deep dish, let us know.
I know, the deep dish connection.
Yes, very much so.
Yeah.
Julie, tell us, what would you say are some attributes, whether you have exemplified of yourself or that women or people in general should have when it comes to being successful in business? And you can tailor it specifically from a communications perspective if you choose to.
Yeah, I think there's definitely, being able to relate to others. I mean, obviously from a communication standpoint, you have to have kind of a rapport and get to know people. And a huge part of PR and communications, it's funny because I've been told I'm the most soft-spoken PR person people have ever met. I hear this from journalists and media. They're just like, and I'm like, well, you don't have to be the loudest in the room to be effective. And I think that's one of those things that a lot of people in PR, they're like, I got to just hammer, this home to media constant, it's like, no, it doesn't really work that way. Let them kind of come to you once they get to know you. But those, certainly you got to be tenacious, you have to be determined, and you have to really follow through. But I think some of the other things that I've really learned and have spent a lot of time kind of working on that are secrets of success is really just self-awareness. Really knowing who you are not, staying true to that. And that for me has come through mindfulness and through meditation practice over the past few years. That has really helped ground me, keep me focused. And so I keep developing that. And I would say as any successful leader, really having that self-awareness and is critical.
That is fantastic. Self-awareness, I think, definitely goes a long way. Now, tell us more. I want to delve into, because you've done so many amazing things. What keeps you grounded apart from, the aspect of meditation and that, because I think that's so important. But when you think about other areas or aspects of self-care, what things work for you?
Yeah, I have to, through COVID, it was a challenge. I haven't really been back to my gym as much. So I kind of got off that, had the COVID weight to get off and get back on track. I'm now at my pre-COVID weight, so like that has been a challenge, and you've got to be focused on, so definitely for me, it's walking. I think I walked over 1 million steps last year, which actually probably isn't that much, but for me, it was like, I, look at my little charts and graphs. I was like so impressed. This is almost 700 miles. And I was like, yay. But, definitely exercise is key. I've got to keep my energy up, because if I don't have that, I'm not going to, feel well, feel good. And I think feeling good is a big part of it. And you got to have fun with what you do. I think, for me, keeping grounded by being out in nature is a really good. I live in South Nashville, so I'm over by the Ellington Ag Park. I go over there and look at the horses. I'm like, immediately my blood pressure goes down. I calm down. I'm getting exercise. I'm outside. That's a big piece of it, and kind of getting back into biking again. So a lot of outdoor time that immediately just diffuses any kind of, anxiety that you might have, frustration, and just kind of work it off. So hope to really get back into the gym. I got to get the weights going. It's just got to happen. Sherelle.
I hear you. Yeah.
The older you get.
For sure. I do understand that. Yeah. So it's interesting. You talk about COVID. I got on the elevator at my office today, and there was a lady coming in, and she said, "Man, I haven't been in this building in 2 years. I wonder if my pass key works, and how do I get up on the elevator?"
Right. I don't know how to do this anymore.
Yeah, so that was really funny.
Out of practice.
So what do you see? How do you see your business growing or being integral in the growth of Nashville? How do you see being able to take advantage of the growth over the next few years, and what are some of your plans?
Yeah, that's great. Great question. Actually, my word of the year this year is growth. So you hit it right on the head. And I think a lot of businesses, small business owners and people I'm talking to, that is kind of getting back into that growth mindset. So it's really focusing on, okay, where do I think the opportunities are? And I've kind of built my network working with a lot of women-owned firms. I'm, part of WBENC and help other women-owned businesses build their businesses. And I see a tremendous amount of potential there, as well as, a lot of the corporations that are relocating here, helping them with some of those types of announcements and things like that, and cultivating some networks there. I think that, I could not imagine doing what I'm doing now in some other cities that we have lived, like Chicago, for instance. Nashville, just being the kind of city it is and being able to get tapped into the networks pretty quickly is definitely the place where I need to be able to do this and expand out. I work with clients that are across the Southeast. I've had some on the West Coast and elsewhere. As long as I have a cell phone and an internet connection, my laptop, I'm like in business. I can work from anywhere, which is very fortunate to be able to do that. So it's helped introduce me to other national networks and tap into that too. So I think that, with a lot of the relocation companies, particularly, there's been, a lot of growth in financial services. We've seen all kinds of private equity firms coming. I think there could be potential there for me to continue growing. And, one area that I do want to work on and tap into is helping businesses that are looking to sell in the next 3 to 5 years, and help them with a business brand builder. And so how we can help build them up to attract the most lucrative buyer. And that comes through some of the work that I do with reputation management, media relations, speaking engagements, awards programs, really kind of helping them elevate and enhance their reputation for that purpose. So I think there's a lot of potential there. It's particularly with the women-owned business. I know there's a huge segment there that are, they want to sell, get that big check, go spend time with the grandkids, travel, other things in their life, and help them do that.
That's what I love your the niche that you've picked out, and being able to really identify kind of the trends of people wanting to sell their businesses over the next 3 to 5 years. And I think that, so how do you sell them on the importance of building their brand and how that adds value to them back, and especially older companies? Sometimes we kind of get stuck in our ways, and we're like, no, everybody knows who I am. What are you talking about, girl? So how
well, it just depends what they want and what their goals are. So everything that I do, and I focus on the business to business side of PR, really has to ladder up to their overarching business objectives. If it doesn't, it's not really effective. We're just out here executing a bunch of tactics. So for me, it's like sitting down and really figuring out, okay, what is this growth strategy that you have, and how can I help you get there? And I think that, I've had some examples of where I've helped some businesses do this and help them, realize that ROI. That's what it comes down to. And that's what's critical. And if they're not growing, then it's not working, and so you got to figure it out and change some things up. So that's kind of where I focus.
Gotcha. That's wonderful.
That's awesome. Go ahead, Lee.
Okay. So how do people get in touch with you? Shout out your social media, and I have a question about social media too, but shout that out so people can reach out to you.
Absolutely. So you can contact me on my website, which is easy. It's just julielilliston.com. I'm also on Instagram at Julie Lilliston. Same as Twitter at Julie Lilliston. So that pretty much gets you connected with me on LinkedIn as well. I'm happy to connect. And I think that's one of the things, just being open to kind of, networking, referrals. If there's anything I can do to help put you in connection with someone that you're trying to meet, I build that into a part of my own business development, and that's just a part of who I am.
So my follow-up question to that is, how do you see businesses using social media over the next 5 to 10 years? What's going to be the role of social media in their business?
Great question. Social media, it's one of those that love-hate relationships. It's like, I got to be out there, with clients, but yet, you just get tired of it. But I think it's really, it's going to be continue to grow, particularly in video, so this format and platform that you have, this is exactly where it's going. And in digestible bits and pieces, and storytelling has always been a critical part of that. So I think just, there's going to be more platforms that are really embracing video in digestible bits for people, because the attention span is just going down and down from 6 seconds as they're scrolling by something. So I think also, being able to react quickly to things. And this is interesting, just whatever the topic of the day is with social media, I think brands and corporations really need to take a look at kind of the long game. And sometimes, you don't need to jump in there with your input and your perspective unless this really aligns with who you are as your company. And so then kind of taking that strategic look, you don't need to be a part of every conversation or everything that's the buzz out there. I feel like you need to capitalize on it unless it makes perfect sense for your business. So that's one of the things to kind of watch out for. So I think we'll just continue to see more new platforms emerging, and the use of video in creative ways.
You know what I'd be really interested in, and I'll probably do this research, but this is the geek in me, which is just because the attention span is dwindling, what is that doing to us neurologically? The aspect of the quick bursts all of the time. What is that doing to us in terms of retention? I'm just, again, the geek in me has nothing to do with this, but
yeah. It's a good question, because I find it myself. It's why am I picking this phone up to go scroll through constantly? So the algorithms, it's real. The addiction is real to it. And why didn't I get any likes on this? This was a great post. What's wrong with people?
Yeah.
What is that doing? I'm not living for likes. I'm not. That's not what I'm about.
Yeah, that's right.
But I don't know. I think that also opens up things for the long form. One of the things that I do with WBENC South, which I'm a part of and is also a client, is we produce an annual magazine. So we're profiling and writing in stories about WBEs and corporate partners and telling those stories and picking up a magazine and sitting down. You're able to relax with a cup of tea or cup of coffee or whatever, and kind of sink into this. And there's something really tangible, and it's just very fulfilling in that way. So I've obviously, my bookshelves, I've got tons of books. I do have a Kindle, but I got I like having those hard copy books and magazines and things to read through. So I don't think that's going to go away. I think that'll always remain and be there. So
wonderful. Well, believe it or not, we're almost at the end of the hour. And so I want to give you a chance to give any nuggets or words of wisdom or parting words that you like to share before Sherelle wraps up and summarizes everything we talked about today.
I love those summaries. It's so amazing.
Yes.
I can't wait to see it. It's a nice little, flashback here.
Yeah.
This is your life. Let's see, nuggets and words of wisdom. There's so many, but I do have to share a quote actually from Sherry Deutschman that she shared in one of her talks. It was so great. And I have it on a little sticky note on my monitor, but it's be bolder, think bigger, ask for more. And I just love that quote. I try to share it as much as I can, because I think it just really speaks to any entrepreneur out there that's playing small. And so that's always a challenge to me, to play bigger and to go bigger and step into that role. So that's always a good reminder. And then one from Michael Bircham, act, deliver, and price is a premium. So I don't care if you're just starting out or if you've been in business for a while, that's a really good reminder as well. And set that bar high. Go for it.
Okay.
One more time, the one from Michael.
Act, deliver, and price is a premium.
Okay. Awesome.
Don't sell yourself cheap.
That's right. That's right. Hey, there's a high cost to cheap. Let me tell you. No matter what.
Yes.
That would be a good book. Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Well, this has been awesome, Julie. Truly, truly awesome. It is hard to believe that the hour has already gone, but I want to make sure that our guests can get a quick soundbite of some of the key things that we captured, but that's no excuse for you to just kind of skip to the end, go back and watch it again, catch the replay, especially if you were just just now joining in, because Julie is nothing shy of amazing. So 1, be adventurous, be comfortable with taking the risk and stepping outside of your comfort zone so that you can achieve the things that are truly important to you. Build relationships. Julie talked about the nature of her relationship, even back home, right? And making sure that you are comfortable going outside of your box to build the relationships, whether it's with individuals that are within your field or within your demographic or even within your culture or outside of that. Step outside of that box. Be comfortable taking risks and making mistakes, because that is a part of the learning. And if we don't have the opportunity to make the mistakes or even take the risk, who knows where we would be or what we would truly be able to accomplish. Moments of vulnerability are okay. Say it with me. Moments of vulnerability are okay. It's okay to be vulnerable, recognizing that that is the aspect of the total self that we have. Focus and be comfortable applying yourself. Be disciplined along the way. Take the opportunities to continue to stretch yourself, but recognize when you're pushing too far, and also be comfortable with listening to your body. Take moments of quietness and appreciate the simple things in nature, like breath or the ability to move and be. Those things help to connect us and keep us grounded. Be willing to take a chance, and be willing to take a chance on yourself. One of the most powerful awarenesses that Julie said, she said, one of the most powerful awareness one can make is to realize that we have the ability to make a choice at any moment. So don't feel stuck or stay stuck if you feel stuck, right? Be willing to take the step and move in any case or either direction. You can be able to do that. Be comfortable making the ask, because the answer just might be yes, or how may I help? Or someone may be comfortable opening their Rolodex or even taking you on to mentor you. Have someone in your corner that champions your can do. The person that can continue to push you when you find moments of getting stuck, that person that cheerleads your success, that person that is there to continue to push you further. Get out there and tap into networks of support. They are everywhere. Be willing to, again, make the ask and take the step. Develop a spirit of reciprocity, right? Instead of always, what can I get? Ask yourself, what can I give? How can I use the tools and resources that I have to contribute to a network, a circle, a specific industry in such a way that it is helpful? Be the one that makes the introduction for others. Begin to give it forward, pay it forward in such a way that you help others to be successful as well. You don't always have to be the loudest in the room. Sometimes it's about sharing your story and allowing the right people to find you, so that you're always true to yourself. You are authentically walking in your truth, and you're self-aware as to how you show up. So stay true to yourself. Find your place of peace while you build. Stress is everywhere. It's an aspect of life, but recognize that there are moments where you can go within to reconnect and rejuvenate your inner peace. Tap into the right networks, and don't forget, do not play small. Just as the quote that Julie gave by Sherry Deutsch mentioned, which simply says, to be bolder, think bigger, and ask for more, because a closed mouth won't get fed, right? So in the same respect, if you don't ask, people will never know exactly what you're looking for or what you desire. And then the second quote by Michael Burcham, which was, act, deliver, and price is...
Price as a premium.
Price is a premium. Exactly. Exactly. So don't undercut or sell yourself short, because sometimes cheap is the most expensive, right? And so we believe in being able to continue to inspire. And this has been extremely, extremely, extremely a great time with you, Julie. Listen, she did say that she is looking to help businesses that are creating their exit strategy within the next 3 to 5 years. So if that is you, and if you want to learn more about Julie and all of the amazing things that she has done and is doing, be sure to catch her on her website. You can find her on LinkedIn. You can find her on Instagram as well as Twitter, and all of her links are posted in the comments section. Be sure to share this, because of course, as we share with one another, we're sharing our lives and our stories. So thank you so much, Julie. This has been such a phenomenal time. And I just, personally want to thank you for all that you're doing to continue to exemplify and uplift the lives of others. So we, are just humbled and honored to have the ability to uplift you.
Oh my goodness. This has been so much fun. It's been a tremendous honor. And I just love that recap. Anytime I'm feeling a moment, I'm going to have to go hit that replay and just hear that recap. Be like, this is what I'm all about.
Yes.
That will keep me grounded. So that was a wonderful gift. So thank you.
Mm-hmm, for sure. Thank you, Julie. Thank you to all of our listeners and viewers. Hey, don't forget, like, share. It's more important to share this than it is to like it, as we heard earlier. We don't live for likes. We do live for shares. We think that
we got to get exposure.
Yes, the more people that you expose to Julie today in our conversation with her today, the more you'll bless others in your network and help them to grow their businesses, and then also just kind of grow themselves personally. And I think that's what it's all about. The more we grow personally, the more we can grow in our businesses, our corporations, or whatever our roles are. If our roles are just as parents or even retirees, we can do greater things. So thank you so much, Julie. We really appreciate you. Mm-hmm. And I look forward to meeting you sometime.
I know. We got to meet in person. Absolutely.
Yes.
Would love that,
Yes,
as well as with Sherelle. So appreciate you both so much. Thank you.
You're welcome. Take care. And we'll be looking for your husband. What was the name of the place this weekend?
Let's see. He's 2 places. He's at Van Gogh's in East Nashville and Arrington Vineyards on Sunday.
Okay. All right. So if you want to hear some good music,
that's right.
You'll check out the Lilliston
Effect.
Right. Okay. All right. Thanks a lot, everyone. Take care. Have a wonderful evening.
Good night.
Take care.